Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 63rd episode of Friday at 5, the most popular, engaging, and empowering, longest running weekly e-convo on school education that has been attended by over 65,000 educators from all over India and 33 other countries. Friday at 5 is organized by ICSL, India's most trusted not-for-profit knowledge organization with the mission to energize, empower, and enable educators. Today, during a conversation on disconnect to reconnect, we'll discuss how excessive use of gadgets is hampering the quality of life of digital natives and us elders too. Also, what we need to reevaluate, change, and reconnect to our children. I thank all of you for being on Friday at 5, and we look forward to an insightful conversation with you all. So now over to Dr. Atul to initiate the conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Harinder, so much for setting the ball rolling. The ratio of how much time we spent on online learning vis-a-vis face-to-face learning might differ in different schools depending upon the availability of technology. But one thing is very sure that every kid right from age 1, class 1, would be using technology to learn. So the technology has real good importance in the life of digital native. In fact, if you look at George Siemens' new theory of learning, it is based on connectivism. So connectivism is going to be the way forward on how education would be imparted and how digital natives learn. There is also a lot of research on the fact that digital natives learn in a method that is different from how digital immigrants like us teach. So the pedagogical methods that we use may not be suitable for digital natives. However, Swami Vivekananda said that everything in access is poison, right? Technology also in access has some real strong drawbacks. So we need to understand how do we moderate the use of technology. That is very important because there is a lot of research that proves that excessive use of technology is detrimental for social health, for emotional well-being, and for physical development of the child. Now, in that light, it is one of the responsibilities of the school to consider how they can get involved to empower and enable parents to moderate the use of technology. So we're going to be having the conversation. My first big question, which I want to address, is how serious is this problem? So are we just talking about something that is, our figment of imagination, or is the excessive use of technology actually a problem? So in very short responses, if I could ask all the panelists to really share why they feel that the gadgets or the screens are becoming or may become a problem for schools in the future. So I'll start with Dr. Saraswati.
Sir, as you rightly mentioned, I just don't want to repeat again whatever you said. As you rightly summarized, it is a major concern for the educational institutions and also for the parents. And sir, whatever starts as an issue in the school with the children, it's going to affect the society. It's going to affect the country, basically. That's what my concern is all about. And educational institutions are going to face major constraint because the basic communication has become a very big, very, very difficult part. I'm not speaking about the language over here, the English fluency. I'm not speaking about that, not the Hindi or anything. Now, the way a child communicates, because the child is so comfortable in chatting, they are not able to communicate in a long sentences. They are not able to communicate what they have in their mind in a more appropriate way, in a more respectful way. The chat language, when they speak, it's becoming a very big major issue. This is what my feedback. I was also part of the in Bombay, also a very top international school. There also, but after we speak with the child for 2 minutes, we can really feel that the child doesn't even understand that the way the child is communicating is wrong. The child says, "What did I say wrong? Why the teacher is getting hurt? I really don't understand. I just asked, can she, the way like how we used to ask, I'm not able to understand. Can you explain?" So they ask us, "I don't get it. Can you repeat it?" For example, this is the way they say.
Sure.
When we ask them, "What is it?" They say that, "Okay, what's wrong? Why do you want to be always so formal? What is the requirement to be formal? Let it be casual." So this, because of the gadgets and because they feel that the world has become so small, even a kid who is living in India feels that the kid is studying in a Europe country or US, and they want to communicate, they want to imitate the same way, and they speak in the same way. The communication is becoming a very major problem, and it is going to lead to lot of other
So,
interconnectivity issues.
Dr. Swami, what is your view on that?
So the way I view it would be schools are a place for learning primarily, yes, and along with the learning, which happens in an ecosystem, a microcosm where there is, social interactions, there's, cognitive interactions, and there's emotional interactions happening. We want children to come to school feeling safe, that I can express myself freely, I can ask questions freely, I can explore my curiosity, and all of this can happen only in an emotionally safe environment, which we hope that schools are forging towards, right, to creating that emotional safety in the school. Now, when we talk about learning, we know it happens best when the parent-child relationship is so strong that the child feels supported, the child feels understood, and the child is able to communicate very freely whatever experiences they've had in the school and go back to that, that safe place of home, right? So when a child comes to school with that strong relationship as a backing, as a safety net, they're free of emotional stresses. I mean, there are emotional issues that will come up in their interactions with teachers, with children, but they also know that they have somebody who can help them sort it out once they go back. And because they're free of that emotional stress, they are actually able to focus better, concentrate on their learning,
Sure.
set realistic goals for themselves. Because when I talk about realistic goals, it's about, all children want to please their parents, they want to impress them. And when in that strong parent-child relationship, the parent has realistic goals of the child. And so the child is not under pressure to perform beyond his or her capacity.
So what is the problem that you feel with excessive use of technology in terms of how does it impact the child's learning and growth?
All the people who, in the Silicon Valley and the tech geniuses out there, they know the reality of how it impacts the development, the cognitive, social, emotional development of not just a child, but even as adults, right? So they take efforts to balance their use of tech, right? The first thing we all have to recognize is technology is here to stay. It's very important to our lives today. I mean, we won't be having this conversation today if it was not for technology. So, but again, it's about how we balance the use of technology that's important. So I think they realize that a child needs to be exposed for their cognitive development, not just to tech, because that stimulates only one sense, the visual or the audio sense. But they need to explore the world, the real world around them, and take in all the sensorial inputs that are out there for their brain to develop holistically. If you neglect one part of the brain or one part of the senses, the part of the brain that's associated with that particular sense gets reassigned for something else, right? Especially if a child, I mean, there's been research that if a child is born hearing impaired, if if within the first 5 years the hearing is not corrected, or then what happens is, even at 21, if there's correction happening, the speech never recovers to normal. Whereas within the first 5 years, when their speech is when there's intervention and they're able to take care of it, their speech develops normally. So I think it's very important to give a multisensorial experience to children, and it's really about balance of technology. And if I could add to what Arundhati was also talking about, the importance of that at home, starting at home. It's not only children; it's also us adults that indulge in the use of phones and using phones as babysitters, while feeding our children. Gone are the days when grandma would carry the child out and tell stories, about the moon and the stars and the birds while feeding the child. Today, it's the mobile we give the child while feeding them. So that face-to-face interaction, the communication, the connections, the mirror neurons that we all have, those connections are absolutely missing, are taken away but when we outsource our parenting to gadgets. So
Yes.
I think it's very important to, research is showing, so when parents are distracted, they're less responsive to children and the children's needs. And when you're less responsive, it impacts the child negatively. They begin to behave negatively to get your attention. So given that scenario, that negativity we can carry over to school performance as well, and school achievement. So I think it's really important to establish a strong relationship between parent and child to strengthen the performance in school as well. And to do that, it's not only the child, but we parents and adults also need to balance our use of technology today.
Yeah, maybe we need to do it first, because in Europe, what happens, and Arundhati, I'm going to ask this question to you, since you do a lot of family counseling. Now, in America and Europe, more in Europe, maybe Nordic countries and part of US culture also, there are fixed times when there is an outdoor time, when you'll go out to a park and do a cookout, okay? Or you'll just go to the park and do cycling. You'll do some physical activity outside. You might read a book with your child, okay? Or you might even visit museums or visit aquariums and visit zoos, right? Now, somehow, in Indian families, we don't see a diverse range of activities being undertaken by parents. We just focus on what is the homework, what is the classwork, what is the schoolwork that you need to do, and we use gadgets a lot more than we should. Why is it that in our families in India, we can't, parents, I'm talking about adults now, we don't know how to keep a balance between a screen and non-screen life? Why is it such a big problem for us?
Well, there's probably several reasons, but the one that comes to my mind immediately is that our parents are very aspirational, right? And they see their aspirations through academic achievement. So that becomes the priority. It's the primary goal, and they enforce that on the child. So I think when academic performance sits right on top there, then everything else loses its importance. It becomes, by the way, maybe once in a way, sometime or the other. Also, I think lifestyles have changed, and we're all trying to, climb the ladder, not just of, climb the ladder at, at the family life level, as well at the economic level, at the, the social level, but also at the workspace, right? So I think as parents, we are so preoccupied. I've worked with parents who have been so preoccupied with their own personal and work goals, and yet at the same time, they feel the child must anyway perform because they're providing everything. Mm-hmm. But what they're really providing is, for their physical needs, the emotional needs are completely ignored or neglected. Sometimes it's ignorance. Lots of us, Even when we were growing up as parents and learning as parents, we didn't really understand how important that emotional aspect of, relating to children was. And so we think, we parents also, sometimes we believe that children will anyway grow up. We're giving them the best of facilities, and we love them and we care for them, but the connection seems to be missing. And that is something I think we can bring out to parents today. You can have your goals, you can have your aspirations, but look at the emotional health of the family and your relationship with your child.
Right.
Yes.
I'll go to Balaji for a minute. Sir, I have a question for you. Why is this problem the problem of a school leader and a school teacher? So what I want to understand is, it seems that the people at fault are parents, right? It feels that parents need to do something. Why should schools worry about it? Why should schools invest their time and their effort and their money into improving the parent-child relationship or parenting?
Well, I think it is something like saying that you can work with one hand when you got both the hands, right? So I think, parents and the school form both hands for the growth profile of the, the learner. And I think you cannot exclude or absolve one against the other. Okay. So the whole problem is the connect between the school and the parents is indeed becoming a problem today, because the schools become the suppliers for the emotions or the requirements and aspirations of the parents. So if a school doesn't use technology, the school is not graded properly. And the more the technology is, that becomes a showcasing for the school, right? Now, the whole problem here is that you have got to live with technology, as Nalina pointed out. There are no options here. But two things, because as one who promoted technology 40 years back in schools, right, I believe one thing, that use, misuse, and abuse. These are three important terms. We must know where to draw the line. I think that's a problem, number one. Second, use, habit, and culture, right? Now, how do you convert a practice or a use into a habit, and then it becomes culture? I think that's where you are having the problem. Excessive use, as we pointed out by you right in the beginning, shifts the paradigm from use to misuse and abuse, shifts the paradigm from use to habit, and then culture. Then once it becomes cultured, becomes a part of the culture, you cannot live with that, because you are, at the pressure center of your brain demands it off and on. And when it comes to schools, schools are today at the mercy of the social requirement of academic aspirations, fulfilling the academic aspirations of the parents over here. I think the whole concept of education has been totally derived, right? I think the moment we are able to shift the paradigm from academic aspirations to holistic education, I think the schools have a significant role to play.
So there are two stages. Prevention is obviously always better than cure, but there are also certain cases, 8th class child, a 9th class child, he has been using a mobile phone for 5 years. He was given that, and now he feels that that is his right to use. So the biggest punishment you can actually give to a teenager is you take away Wi-Fi from him. And the second biggest punishment is that you take the phone away. If you don't feed them, it's okay, but you can't make them live without Wi-Fi. So there are two levels at where we need to tackle this problem as a school. One is obviously prevention, and the second is cure. What happens to somebody when the child gets addicted? So let me just tackle that part first for a minute. Dr. Aruna, you work with a lot of parents and a lot of children in terms of therapy, in terms of psychiatric treatments also. What do I do as a parent if my child is already addicted to the screen and the gadgets? What can a parent do, Dr.
Yeah, I just want to quote one incident over here. last year there was a girl child who got lost. The girl child was 13 years, and the girl child was playing, roaming around with the apartment ground down, and suddenly the girl disappeared. So first they thought that the girl child has gone somewhere, and then the parents came and the friends asked. We asked, what happened? No, the girl is lost. You know what was the friends and the parents said? No, she is in really great danger because her phone is here, she's not there.
Oh,
You know, that was a very big statement, because the child is not that the phone is there, means the child would not have left the phone unless and until it's a very big, grave, something has happened to her.
yes.
Otherwise, you cannot see that X without the phone. So they said, no, it's serious. It is serious. We can, so we have to do the search. Of course, she was in a very grave danger. So this looks like a very simple thing, but now this is the reality that is happening. Anything, many parents now, they are also highly perplexed. They are also highly confused. Many parents ask me, my child has to have the privacy. Why can't my child lock the phone? This is another bigger issue that I face nowadays. The child says, I will lock my phone. And immediately when I speak with the child, for example, then the child asks me, why my father is locking his phone?
Mm.
And when I say, okay, night bedtime, you cannot take your phone into the bedroom. The child immediately asks me, but my mom has. I know very well my father is watching YouTube till 3 o'clock. No, so now when we say, that's what many times parents, they come to me for this gadget thing, and they used to tell me, so when can I drop him and when can I pick up? So I used to tell, I'm not running a kindergarten session here where you can drop and pick up. The session is going to be for you, not for your kid. So you kindly come and sit. I've got nothing to speak to your child. So before we set any ground rules for the child, it's for the ground rules has to be set for the whole family. Whole family, then everything is going to fall in place.
Either prevention or cure, it has to begin from the parent. And I think we need to all understand that as educators, that it's not about controlling the child's usage of technology. It's about helping parents become role models in moderating the use of technology and setting an example for the children to follow. What is the right time? So if it's not a good thing to use a mobile phone during dinner or on dinner table or while having breakfast, then the parents' mobile phone has to be kept away. Let's assume that we want to make a difference and we understand that we tell a parent that, you should not, you should use it in moderation. The big problem, Nalina, is that urban parents and a lot of other parents also, even rural parents, don't really know how to engage with children. And that is the reason why they're using a phone as a babysitting tool. I don't know what activities to do with my kids. Gone are the times when during the Dasera, my dad used to put me on his shoulders and take me to watch, the Dasera Mela. I still remember that. Or we used to play carom together. I don't know how many households now actually have a carom board and how many of them play carom board. My dad used to play chess with me. I don't know how many parents, I mean, it's online chess now. So parents don't really know what to do. And the only thing they will do, especially in Delhi, because we are so fond of eating and Punjabis, we'll just go to a restaurant, eat and call it family time. So spending time with chole bhature is family time for us. So Nalina, what should parents do to improve the quality of engagement with their children, which is not involving any gadgets?
I think it's not. I think there are lots of little moments through the day to do that. But before I answer the question, I just want to go back one step. You asked about why in India, parents are not taking their children to experience other activities and other things around them versus just focusing on academics, versus in US and other countries where there's, they engage them in a lot of other activities. I mean, having raised my children partly in the US as well as here. I get what you're saying, because I used to take my children to see a lot of things and read to them regularly, etc. I think the key again is, what is the admission criteria for a higher studies, right? Whereas when you go to university in the US, the criteria there is not pure academics. You get to one of the top colleges, they see the whole you, right? Your emotional resilience, your passion, your innovation, that whole thing. They don't look just at marks and grades. And I think that's the key. Whereas here, admission to top colleges is based on grades. So I think changing that system would also impact how parents view what's important for their child. Today, that's why I just want to bring out that point on, that you had raised earlier. Talk about how you can grab moments through the day to actually connect with your children gadget free. From the time you wake up in the morning, as soon as your child wakes up, what's the first thing? Say, hurry up, it's time for school, get ready, eat your breakfast fast. We start off the day that rushing, feel rushed, we get the children to rush. But if you just take that pause, pausing for that moment to connect with your child, just smile, hey, how was your night? Did you sleep well? What kind of dreams did you have? You know what? I had this funny dream today. So just establishing that connection. If it's a little child, maybe even a hug in the morning as soon as they get up, just to say, I'm so happy to see you. So that gets the child off to a wonderful start of during the day, and then they go on to the other, get ready for school and go on. Then again, like you said, meal times can be a time when you eat together without gadgets. You can declare your gadget-free zones in your house, whether it be your bedroom, your dining room, or any specific room. I say, look, gadgets are banned in this room, or specific times during which gadgets is not allowed, not just for the child, but for the entire family. So you come to you actually put together what we call like a family plan. So based on individual needs or requirements or the child's age, you set a plan on how much gadget or screen time the child is allowed during the day, right? And another key point we talk about is select the maybe 3 to 5 things a child must do today, right? It could be you have to go out and play something, you have to practice your music, you have to finish your homework, we're going to spend 20 minutes playing a game together, whatever it is. You set the 4 or 5 key things a child must accomplish that day. And once that's done, okay, go ahead and spend time on your gadget, no problem, as long as before bedtime you switch off your gadget. Right. So that's another way to establish an agreement. We don't say rules, but come to an agreement as a family, even with a young child, on how much gadget use each of us, gadget use that's allowed for each of us within the family. Right. And of course, there will be times when you're a little bit more flexible about it. Say meal times, no gadgets, but it may be an IPL game that we all want to watch, or a T20 cricket game. That's okay. On those days, you watch the TV and eat together.
Right.
But generally, that's one aspect of it. And of course, like I said, like you said, just setting aside time on a weekend or bedtime stories, reading with the children on bedtime stories, or reading a book together and discussing the story with older children. Right. So there are many ways that, or going for a picnic on a weekend together. Right, or going for a walk together, right, without gadgets. So I think it's about creating little moments through the day, as well as setting aside larger chunks of time.
I think I like that aspect. That think about the minutes and the hours will take care of themselves.
Yes.
But I think how important, Nalina, is in your view to keep the child's interest in mind while planning such activities? Or should it be what the parent, because see, we are in a society where parent tries to control what the child does. Because I like music, therefore you have to become a musician. Because I'm a mathematician, therefore you should do Sudoku every day. Because I'm a language teacher, you should do crossword every day. So how important is it for parents to understand that the planning of these activities should be learner centric, the child centric, and not the parent centric.
See, again, it starts with connecting to your child, right? Unless you spend the time to connect to your child through the day or through playful moments or other times, then you begin to understand what drives or motivates your child. What are your child's interests, right? And once we know that, I think it's about then working with their strengths and encouraging them on their strengths. And also, once we know their weaknesses, seeing how we can support their weaknesses to bring it to a level that is required, basic level at least, and and push them forward in their strengths, right? So I think the first thing is, like I say, first connect with your child, then try to understand what they're doing, and then it's easy to engage with your child. And of course, and also we say, you set aside time to be with your child, maybe once a week, 1 hour, or for little kids, maybe 10-15 minutes a day, right? But you let the child drive that 10-15 minutes of how you're going to engage with each other. It could be, if it's a young child, say, hey, let's bring all our pillows and jump on the pillows today. And you should be ready to do that, right? So giving the child also, as long as it's safe for you and the child, engaging in activities that are fun for the child, and the child begins to know, okay, my mom or my dad, is giving me a choice of what to do. So they begin to feel more confident, build that confidence, and you use that moment to connect. They begin to build that trust in you, and that mutual trust happens, right?
Absolutely. So my next question, you had suggested that, create a plan and say that, look, these are the requirements. You have to play, you have to do this.
Yeah.
So that's very good part. You put in some sort of discipline. One of the big problems, and I'm going to put that question both to Arundhati and Dr. Saraswati also, is that in my generation, my dad did not care about my tantrums. Okay. So if I was cranky because I did not get my favorite food or watch television on Sunday, he didn't give a damn that I was crying, and he did not give a damn that I was rolling on the floor. And he said, apne aap theek ho jayega, he'll be okay. Now, today's parent, the younger ones, right, they just don't seem to be able to handle a child's tantrum. So they give in so fast. I mean, here you are saying, no, you cannot use the computer or you cannot use the laptop or the television unless you go out and play for half an hour. This kid would sit on the floor and say, I am not going to play no matter what, and I'm going to use this. So are our parents skilled and equipped to handle these tantrums, and can school do something to equip these parents to handle these tantrums?
Yes, when I was speaking, I was thinking like how to bring up this, and you asked this question. Actually, these issues, definitely, I think Shilpi will agree. Schools are facing a major issue because of the parents' overprotectiveness at home. Nowadays, what we are seeing is parents are treating the kids like a king and a queen. Actually, king and queen, and the basic, simple disappointment the child is not able to handle. A parent feel that they cannot say no, and a child is not able to accept no. And when a child throws, like as you rightly mentioned, if you would have sat in a road and cried in my younger years, my father would have left, okay, you cry and come, I don't care. But now what is happening is, more than the child, the parents are getting highly excited, the parents are getting highly tensed, and they rush and they try to pacify. No, don't cry. What do you want? We want to give. And there is so much emotional drama that happens. More than the child, the parents does it. And child is a very quick learner. The very small baby understands immediately when they can trigger the parent, and they understand that, and they throw the tantrum, and then immediately parent obliges and they get what they want. First, that's what in many of my parenting session, I always used to say to the parents, kindly learn to say no. You have to say no. Not always you can say yes. It's not at all possible. And because of this only, in schools, nowadays, many educational institutions, many principals, many senior teachers are telling, because the child is being treated so protectively with so much like a queen, And when in a school for any competition, if you are not selected because it's a group game, the child is not able to accept that.
Yeah.
The child creates a tantrum and the child goes home and tells a very different story. As the child grows, those tantrums evolves actually.
Yeah.
They go and tell a different story at home, and the parent, you won't believe it. Many parents who will come and fight in the school, believing what the child has said. Nowadays, in the top private schools, I'm seeing this kind of issues.
What if we have a support system? Okay, so I'm coming to a different ball game. Why don't we provide them some alternative? And what could that alternative be, Arundhati? So if schools wanted to mend the quality of parenting, okay, instead of saying don't do blah 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 blah, okay, what if we say, hey guys, why don't you do this, and discover the joy of doing that? What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head when you say that, parents are looking for resources. I'm going to play devil's advocate here a bit, and I want to be very supportive of parents, right? Because yes, we say parents are doing this wrong and they're doing that wrong and they need to change, etc. But I think just let's get into the mind of every parent. No parent wants to hurt their child. No parent wants to harm their child. They want to do their best, but they don't know how to. And that's where the schools can show them the how to, right? Because we're just saying that they need to change, they need to do this, or they shouldn't do that. But what are the alternatives, as you rightly asked, right? So if schools can provide those alternatives, right? For example, when you say, how does one say no to a child, right? We say it all the time, but what happens? The child doesn't accept and then throws a tantrum and the parent is upset. Now, no parent likes to see their child upset. We all want to see our children happy. Right? And so we give in because we don't know another alternative. So if we can, give parents those resources, those techniques, and those little tips as to how to say no and still maintain a great relationship with your child. Yeah. How can you say no with alternatives? Very often we say, no, you can't do this. But can we say, no, you can't do this, but you can do. You can't have the chocolate right now, but you can go out and play for a little while, right? So I think we just need someone to guide us through our parenting because we all mean well and we want that guidance. We don't have much of that experience because as you so vividly described so many incidents from your childhood with your parents, the scenario has changed completely today. Yes. And we don't live in those times. So many of those strategies, they worked then, but they're not going to work now. Yeah. So parents are really searching. They're looking for a foothold. They're looking for something to grip on. Yeah. And I think when the school takes that responsibility for, to support parents in their parenting journey, right? And it's not just for academics, but through academics, you can also reach out to parents because when you talk about academics, parents sit up and listen. Yeah. And then when you lead them to the foundations that need to be laid for that learning to happen, you're also sharing with them, little tips and strategies on how to build that relationship, how to negotiate those difficult moments, how to heal a relationship when it's broken or when it's cracked, and continue to, partner with the school. So I think the solution here is for parents and teachers and the school to become partners. As was earlier described, I think Dr. Balasubramaniam talked about how at PTA meetings, it's a war, right? So we need to change that atmosphere. We need to bring about that relationship of partnership between school and parents, where parents want to come to the school and schools talk to parents in a supportive way with empathy and by giving them a whole lot of resources.
Very, very quickly, Nalina, you have been doing gadget-free hour for about 2 years now, okay? So you've been doing that where you've been asking schools to, partner with Parent Circle and helping, them promote the idea of, and I think this year on the World Children's Day on the 20th of November, you're going to be having a gadget-free hour, right? So can you tell us what is the kind of positive impact that has created in the last 2 years, and why do you think that is a very good idea for all schools to start with, to begin with?
Honestly, when we started in 2019, we thought, okay, we'll just reach maybe like 1 million. If we reach 1 million parents, we've done a great job, right? Because it was just a starting year. But we were surprised that whoever we approached, from the government of Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, to schools, to restaurants, to organizations, they were all immediately connected to the idea. They all realized that need. They all wake up and say, oh yeah, even when we go to a restaurant, we're all on gadgets. We're not talking to each other. Or, how much time, even at home, we're so busy, we're not taking the time to spend time with our children. So it kind of struck a chord with almost everybody we talked to, this fundamental issue of technology interrupting our connections with our children and families. So the first year itself, they were like, our reach was like over 17 million,
Wow.
The first year. And then last year again, the COVID struck and we were all together in the same house for months together. But everybody realized we're in the same house under one roof, but each of us are in our own rooms doing our own thing. We are together and yet disconnected, right? Because of gadgets. We're not really, the face-to-face interactions, became less because kids who were not using gadgets before are now using gadgets because they have to, all their classes are happening online, etc. So I think the need was felt even more. So last year, there was an even wider reach of, I think we had like over 30-40 million impressions of reach last year. And so we felt that it's even today, again, I know children are getting back to school and, we're trying to get back to the old norm, but we need to adapt to the new norm. And the new norm is both in schools and work. It's going to be a blend of technology and, offline activities. And once you accept that, the need for this time to connect becomes even more, right? Taking the time to disconnect, to reconnect becomes even more. So the stories that we heard also from many families the first 2-3 years who participated in this gadget free hour, they came back, and there was one parent who thanked us and said, look, my mother said especially thank you, because in 3 years we've not spent time like this together, that 1 hour, right? So we heard many stories like this where the child who didn't want to do gadget free hour went to bed at night and said, Papa, when are we going to have gadget free hour again, right? So this really drives us to, we just want to spread the word and create the awareness. You know what? There's a time for everything. And so you need to take set aside time for this very important connection time with your child, right? It's very, very key for your child, for your relationship with your child, and for them to achieve success. It builds that circle of security, a safety net for them when you build a trusting relationship. And for that to happen, spending quality time without any distractions coming in the way is so key. So we hope this 1 hour gadget-free hour, that, when they spend time with their children on November 20th, between 7:30 and 8:30, they experience the fun of being together and just having fun. It's not about advising, it's not about doing anything academic, but just having a playful moments together, and how you can replicate it and make it, say, yes, it can be done, and make it a habit, right? So we want it to become a habit, like Dr. Bala said, it becomes a habit and then a culture. Because we're all struggling. This whole technology is new for everybody, right? So we don't know. We're still navigating and figuring out how to use it in a way that's effective properly. And these are little steps that we can take.
Right. And I hope, Nalina, I'm going to, because we are running out of time,
Yeah.
but I hope that this, all of you as parents, because I know all the teachers and the principals who have joined us, they're all parents also. So at least you can start it in your homes, a gadget-free hour, learn about it more, and we'll share more information on that. But this should not become an annual event, but more of a daily event. So every day, for 1 hour in your house, nobody should be allowed to use gadget. And that should not be the sleeping time. Okay. Don't cheat on that. And don't say that from 2 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock in the morning, it's a gadget free hour. That does not count. Okay. So that's very, very important. Balaji, your closing remarks on this issue.
Yeah, two things I want to tell, Atul. One, a reference was made about alternatives to the technology. I remember in 2004, the CBSE, we brought a book called Alternatives to Homework, because we believe that classwork repeated at home is not the homework, but there are 100 things parents and their children could do together. So a beautiful book with about 200 alternatives were brought to the schools. And that was a very good move. But what happens is, when the parents come, oh, this is the homework. No. What is the mathematics homework? What is the physics homework? So the whole idea of homework is now, that's where parental education and the parent circle and other things need to work. That any work done at home is a good homework. Answering a telephone call, spreading a lunch over there. I think that's number one. The last closing remark, what I would suggest is, today, all parents, anybody, we have all given everything to the child, right? Technology, gadgets, call, anything we have given, but we have robbed the children of their childhood.
Yes.
I think that is a message that we need to give. And gadget-free hour, probably they will get the childhood that they deserve to have.
Yes, such a very, very good words. And with those words, I'm going to hand it over to Harinder.
I thank all the panelists for an insightful conversation and sharing such practical, easy to do solutions.